Whenever I mention the Big Six to someone, I'm often surprised that they have no idea as to what I'm talking about. Now, specifically, I made this comment to someone the other day, and it goes like this. As long as we are not unified, Black misleadership can continue selling the false idea of hope and change to Black folks. Malcolm told us a long time ago about the Big Six. That hustle is still being used on us today. So what I want you to do is listen to Malcolm X tell the story. Check it out.
They had a meeting at the Carlisle Hotel in New York City. The Carlisle Hotel is owned by the Kennedy family. That's the hotel Kennedy spent the night at 2 nights ago. Belongs to his family. A philanthropic society headed by a white man named Stephen Currier called all the top civil rights leaders together at the Carlisle Hotel and told them that by you all fighting each other, you're destroying the civil rights movement. And since you're fighting over money from white liberals, let us set up what's known as the Council for United Civil Rights Leadership. Let's form this council, and all the civil rights organizations will belong to it. And we'll use it for fundraising purposes. Let me show you how tricky the white man is. And as soon as they got it formed, they elected Whitney Young as the chairman. And who you think became the co-chairman? Stephen Currier, the white man. A millionaire. Powell was talking about it down at the Cobo today. This is what he was talking about. Powell knows it happened. Randolph knows it happened. Wilkins knows it happened. King knows it happened. Every one of that so-called Big Six. They know what happened. Once they formed it, with the white man over it, he promised them and gave them $800,000 to split up between the Big Six. And told them that after the march was over, they'd give them $700,000 more. $1.5 million split up between the leaders that you've been following, going to jail for, crying crocodile tears for. And they're nothing but Frank James and Jesse James and brothers.
So as you heard there, he was basically saying that the Big Six that was comprised of Martin Luther King Jr., James Farmer, John Lewis, A. Philip Randolph, Roy Wilkins, and Whitney Young, they met at the Carlisle Hotel with a philanthropist, right? And they also met with John F. Kennedy when he was the president in 1963. Now, they again were wanting to organize some sort of march, which we now know was the March on Washington of 1963. But as y'all also heard Malcolm X say, they took, quite a bit of money, especially in the 1960s, to say, okay, listen, let's stop fighting amongst each other, because yes, that was a thing, and it still is a thing now, right? You'll often see these so-called Black leaders fight with one another. So they were still doing that. And so white folks was like, listen, we need y'all to get on board with the false idea of civil rights so that all the people that follow you can say, oh, okay, we're going somewhere now. But Malcolm X also, in a longer version, said basically Black organizations really wanted to turn up, right? At one point in time, Black people were going to disrupt air traffic at LaGuardia Airport, where they were just going to lie on the tarmac, right? So that planes couldn't land, and really just turn it up in Washington and all over the United States. Because, of course, y'all know we was going through it as Black folks, right? But so then the powers that be, if you will, was like, we can't have them do that. But we don't want to totally discourage them. So what we'll do is we'll bring in these leaders, right? The Big Six, which they also called the Big Fix. We'll bring them in and say, hey, there's a lot of money in it for y'all. If y'all go back to your organizations and pretend that y'all, really going to stick it to the man. But don't stick it to the man, right? Just pretend. And so, as I said to that person in that comment, that hustle is still being used today, right? You have your Al Sharptons, your Roland Martins, and your Jamal Bryants. Now he's a civil rights leader, right? I thought he was a pastor. Anyway, I digress. So they're all, we're sticking it to the man because they're getting rid of DEI and this, that, and the other. But if you really think about it, do they really want Black people to turn up? Do they really want us to unify? Think about it. The answer is no. They don't want us to unify, because if we unify, then what we need them for? See, they got to sell us that illusion of, oh, yeah, we're going to stick it to the man. Now, allegedly, and so we've heard, right? They're getting a little change, some money, to go back to their organizations and then disseminate with sticking it to the man. But if we really wanted to stick it to the man, or they really wanted us to stick it to the man, they would stop saying that kumbaya, let's continue voting for the Democrats that do nothing for Black people, right? They wouldn't keep telling us that. they would say, hey, scratch all of that from the Republicans or the Democrats. This is what we need to do. We need to practice group economics, right? We need to up you, mighty nation, accomplish what you will. We need to do for self. They could do it, right? They have a large following. So why aren't they talking like that to black people? Because that's what's really going to help us move the ball. Not, oh, let's go vote our way out of this and let's go, stroll to the polls and all this other stuff, right? Let's just boycott Target, which, great, let's boycott Target. But are we putting that money into black businesses, or are we boycotting Target so that we can shake them down so they can give us money that we already have ourselves, right? Why isn't one of them saying, with all the money that black Americans see in our community every year, why aren't we taking that and putting that into our own businesses, right? Again, it is said that we're going to see about $2 trillion soon in our community, but we give 97% of that away. One of them, Al, he's on a national radio show every weekend. Why doesn't he say, hey, black America, let's say 10% of the money we give to everybody else, and that would be a game changer. He's not going to do that. Roland Martin, he's the same thing. He's a shakedown artist. He's telling black people, oh, well, they won't, give us any money for black advertisement. He could say, hey, instead of us giving our money to everybody else, let's put the money into our own black-owned businesses, and then those black-owned businesses can buy into black radio, television, or whatever it is. But see, they don't have any faith in black people anyway. So they're like, hey, we're going to get our little check from the white man to pretend to the black man that we care about unity. They do not. So if you did not know about the Big Six, and listen, I didn't tell that story to be disrespectful, because the other side of that is a lot of times people get mad when I talk about the Big Six. Oh, how dare you talk about Martin Luther King Jr.? It's like, I'm not talking about him. I'm just telling you what he was doing. You don't want to know the truth, right? I think Martin Luther King would want you to know the truth, because he woke up to the truth. And unfortunately, that's why many believe rather he met an early demise, because he finally woke up from that dream that he was telling us that we should be having, right? So anyway, y'all let me know what you think about the Big Six, and did you know about it? Anyway, for more insightful commentary, please subscribe to this channel and my channel, The Demetra K Show, here on YouTube. Peace.